November 1944. The Philippine Sea. An American fleet moves steadily westward. Radar scans are clean. No aircraft. No submarines detected. The sea appears empty. Beneath the surface, something waits. It is not a submarine. It is not a torpedo. It is a man, sealed inside a steel tube, guiding a weapon that he knows he will never leave alive. This is the story of the Kaiten. By late 1943, Imperial Japan was losing the war at sea. Carrier aviation had been shattered at Midway. Experienced pilots were gone. Fuel was scarce. Shipbuilding could not keep pace with American production. Every month, the balance tilted further against Japan. Conventional weapons were no longer enough. Japanese naval leadership searched for a way to turn desperation into advantage. They believed that spirit, sacrifice, and precision could compensate for industrial inferiority. If machines could not stop the enemy, perhaps men could. The result was the Kaiten, literally translated as Heaven Shaker. Officially, it was a manned torpedo. In reality, it was a one-way weapon. The Kaiten was based on the Type 93 Long Lance torpedo, one of the most powerful torpedoes ever built. Engineers removed the standard guidance system and installed a cramped cockpit near the nose. Inside, a single pilot lay prone, surrounded by dials, gyros, and periscope optics. There was no escape hatch. Once sealed, the pilot had no way out. The warhead contained over 1,500 kilograms of explosives. Enough to rip the keel out of a battleship. The pilot guided the Kaiten toward the target using a periscope for final approach, steering fins, and limited depth controls. At cruising speed, the Kaiten could travel dozens of kilometers. At attack speed, it became nearly unstoppable. Training was brutal. Volunteers, mostly young naval officers and cadets, were taught to navigate underwater, judge distance through a narrow periscope, and maintain control while oxygen levels dropped and carbon dioxide rose. Many died during training accidents. Others suffocated when systems failed. Yet volunteers continued to come forward. Some were driven by belief. Some by pressure. Some by the understanding that refusal was not truly an option. Letters written before missions often spoke of honor, duty, and apology to family, never of survival. The first operational deployment occurred in November 1944. Kaiten were carried to launch areas by submarines, then released toward Allied anchorages and shipping lanes. The most notable early success came at Ulithi Atoll, where a Kaiten struck and sank the fleet oiler USS Mississinewa, killing over 60 sailors. It was one of the few confirmed successes. Most missions failed. Allied anti-submarine defenses improved rapidly. Sonar detected launch submarines. Depth charges destroyed carriers before Kaiten could be released. Mechanical failures plagued the weapons. Pilots became disoriented. Some missed their targets entirely and detonated harmlessly in open water. Others never found a target and ran out of oxygen. By the end of the war, over 100 Kaiten missions had been launched. Fewer than a handful achieved confirmed hits. Hundreds of Japanese pilots died. The psychological cost was enormous. Unlike aircraft kamikaze attacks, Kaiten missions were silent. No final dive. No dramatic explosion witnessed by comrades. Pilots vanished beneath the sea, their deaths unseen and often unrecorded. Even within the Japanese Navy, doubts grew. Senior officers privately questioned the effectiveness of the program. Resources poured into weapons that delivered little strategic return. Yet the program continued, driven by ideology, desperation, and a belief that sacrifice itself had value. From a military perspective, the Kaiten failed. From a human perspective, it represents something darker. The Kaiten was not just a weapon, it was a system that consumed its operators by design. It stripped away the last possibility of survival and turned obedience into a terminal act. After the war, surviving Japanese officers rarely spoke about it. Many pilots' families learned the details only decades later. Memorials exist, but they are subdued, reflective, and somber, not celebratory. Today, preserved Kaiten sit in museums, their steel hulls silent and intact. They look mechanical, impersonal. But they were never just machines. Each one carried a young man who entered knowing there would be no return. The Kaiten did not change the course of the war. But it remains one of its darkest chapters. A reminder of what happens when desperation replaces strategy, and when human life becomes just another component of a weapon.